Hey everyone, back with another video, and today we are going to edit some flash shots. Here's going to be our ultimate goal of what we're shooting for. So let's jump right into it and kind of show you what I did and how I got here and why I did what I did. So I was shooting in a parking garage, as evident by the concrete walls and roof all around my car. But this parking garage actually had a pretty bright light coming in the side here. You can see these holes, and what that was doing is that was throwing a lot of light on the car. If we look at one of these photos back here, you can see kind of the nasty reflections that I'm getting. So in the front of the car here and along the car, you can really see the light that's coming in and shining on that. And obviously that doesn't look very good. So what I had to do was, to get a base image, I tried to make the frame almost completely black, and you can see I had my speed light back here on the shelf, and I took a test shot, and you can see it's still a little bit faint. I wish that I had gone a little bit darker, but we are already, this shot is at 100 ISO. It's taken with a 50 millimeter. We're at f8 and 1/200th of a second. So I could have definitely bumped the f-stop up a little bit more to get rid of some of that ambient light, but I didn't, and this is kind of what we're working with. So this is going to be our base image, and you can see I went around the car and just took some different angles. So here, trying to light the side of the car, a little bit lower angle, and then I also did a little bit higher angle. Something that I've been noticing is recently I wrapped my car, and the wrap, I guess, absorbs light or reflects light a little bit differently than paint does. So I'm still trying to nail down a technique of what's going to work the best for how the wrap is going to react to the light. So you can see this is a little bit more in the front. This is the front passenger side of the car. And then I did kind of an outline of the car of the back wall. And then I did one of the very back of the car. You can see this is kind of getting that backlight. So let's do this. Let's take all of these shots and we will shift click. Let's command click this one out of there. And then we'll edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. All right, so as you can see here, Lightroom has loaded all of the images into Photoshop and opened them in one document and actually made layers. And so what we want to do is, we know that this is our base layer. So let's move this down to the very bottom. And then we will bring this one just above it. And actually, let's turn off all of these so we can see what we're doing. The first thing I want to do is go in and get rid of this. So what I'm going to do on this bottom layer here is take the clone stamp tool, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to go right into here, and we're just going to paint over this to get rid of that. So there we go. All right, so now let's turn on our next layer. So this is the backlight. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this to lighten. And as you can see, that combines the lighter bits from the top image with the bottom image. So if it's a lighter part of the image, it's going to allow it to come through. This is probably a little bit too bright. So I think what we want to do is we can either put a layer mask on that. Let's just put a white layer mask. And we can grab our brush tool and bring down the opacity, and we can paint around here a little bit. And that just kind of helps lessen that effect a little bit. And now if we go to the next layer, let's see what this one is. So we're getting into the front of the car. And I think that we'll just use this shot. And let's go ahead and click lighten again. So you can see the same thing. So the lighter part of the image shows through. And now we don't necessarily want all of this, or at least I don't. It really depends on what you're looking for in your image though. You may like the brightness that you're getting there, I kind of want to keep it a little bit more dark and moody. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to mask a lot of that stuff back out and just keep the attention on the car. So I think that's pretty good. Let's repeat with the next one. So again, I think this one did a pretty good job of lighting the side of the car, but let's see what these other ones look like. So I think this one's definitely better than this one. That one we may use to paint in some of the wheels. And that one, I don't know if we really need. So let's start with this. Again, same thing. Let's go ahead and change this to lighten. And you can see we brought in the side. Again, we want to kind of mask away this bright area over here. Just drawing the focus into the car a bit. And again, for my brush, I have it on all the way soft, and then I'm just using my bracket keys to increase or decrease the size of the brush depending on what I need. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's go in and see what we decided. That wasn't the one. This one, let's see what we can do with the wheels. So I'm actually going to make a black layer mask on this. So we'll click on this. We'll hit Option or Alt and then click our layer mask. That's going to make a black layer mask for us. And then we'll go in, we'll make our brush smaller by using the left bracket key and painting in white. So we'll switch to X and we'll just come in here and brush in on the wheel. And just get some highlight back here on this back one. So if we zoom out, you can see before and after. It just helps the wheels pop a little bit more. Let's see what this looks like. Let's change to lighten. See if maybe we want to keep that flare or not. So let's go to our brush tool. Let's make this bigger. And this time we're going to paint in black. And let's just come in here and paint some of this away. So, I mean, that could be cool. Let's take this. Let's commit to that. So I think let's go ahead and Command, Option, Shift, and E to make a stamp visible layer. Now, I was going for a little bit of a Dutch angle here, but I think maybe I went a little bit too far. So the first thing that I want to do is actually crop the image a little bit and rotate it. I think bring it back just a little bit, and it looks like we're going to lose a little bit of that flare by doing this, but maybe some will still sneak in. So I think that still looks kind of cool, and we're going to add a little bit of highlight there, but let's work on some of the colors. I think we're really yellow in here, and I think I want to take away some of that saturation. So let's go into Camera Raw really quick and do some initial adjustments on this image. So the first thing, I think we can bump up the clarity quite a bit. I think we can probably open up some shadows. I think we can probably cool the image off just a touch. And I think what I want to do is pull down graduated filter and bring the exposure down a bit. And also bring the saturation down and maybe do the same thing with the bottom. think that looks cool, and maybe we'll brighten up the car just a little bit. So let's put that there. Go into here and maybe open up the shadows ever so slightly. All right, I think that's good for there. So you can see what we did kind of before and after. Got the concrete walls a little more neutral. So let's make a duplicate layer of that, and then let's go into Nick. And one thing that I really like to do in parking garages or area where there's texture or concrete or things, I think this technique really lends to that environment. So it's the preset number 5. It's called High Structure Harsh. If you've watched any other of my videos, you know I use this technique quite a bit. I just like the punch that it gives the image. And I find that with concrete, it does a really good job. So that's what it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to go to this blending mode and change it to luminosity. And now what that is that's just affecting the lights and the darks of the image. It's not affecting the color. So it takes that black and white image and keeps it color. So I think that looks pretty cool. So now that we have that luminosity layer, we're going to go ahead and make a stamp visible layer. So we're going to hit Command, Option, Shift, and E. And I think just to help things run a little bit smoother, I'm going to commit to this. So I'm going to flatten this image just so I don't have all of those extra layers with the screen capture and all of that stuff. So it'll just help make things a little bit smaller for me. So since I did that, I need another layer. So I'm going to hit Command J, just to make a duplicate layer of what I have there. And then I think to look at this white balance a little bit, I'm going to go up to Color Effects Pro 4. And there's a preset in here that I like to use to kind of adjust the white balance of the image. And so it's already selected. So if you come over here to White Neutralizer, what this does is you have this little color picker right here. And I just go around the image and select different areas that are white or neutral and just click on them and see if things change and I like the color of it or not. So you can see that last one that I did, it turned it a little bit more yellow, and that's kind of not what I wanted. So I went back to the previous one. So let's go ahead and click OK on that. And so I think so you can see we got rid of some of that yellow cast back here, and it's more that kind of cold neutral gray. I'm still not 100% happy with the crop, so I think I'm going to bring this in a little bit more. Another thing up here, if you click this Content Aware button, that'll let you crop a little bit outside. So you can see here and here, I'm actually outside of the frame, but Photoshop will actually help us out a little bit with that. So you can see on all 4 corners here, I'm actually off of the original frame. So let's hit enter and see how good or bad of a job that it does. So you can actually see it did a pretty good job. It filled in all those areas using math and science and all kinds of wizardry to match the pixels of what's around it. So I think I'm pretty happy with this. I think the only thing that I'll do is to help this kind of direction of light is I think we'll make like a fake lens flare kind of thing. So what I do is make a new layer, and then I grab the gradient tool, and you can see I have here the second one, which is the foreground color to transparent, and then I have the second one, which is the radial gradient selected. And so white as my foreground color, I'm going to draw from where this light source was just straight over to the car. And you can see that makes it kind of bright. and we want to lower that opacity back quite a bit. And then also what we might do is just go in with our brush, put a layer mask on that, select B for our brush, and we might just go brush some of that back off of here. Keep that a little bit darker and kind of get rid of that perfectly round. So I think that just helps draw the eye from lightest to darkest down this way. I think the last thing we can do is let's go ahead and make a stamp visible layer again. Let's go into camera raw filter and let's just see where we're at with our noise and our sharpness and all that good stuff. So let's come over here. Let's bring up our sharpness, and then we'll hit the masking and hold down our Alt key, and we can see we're just gonna select the edges, and then we'll come in here. It doesn't look like we have any noise, but it never hurts to just hit that with a little bit. It'll help smooth out some of that stuff. So let's go ahead and click OK on that. And then I think the last thing I want to do is just go in and clean up some of these highlight areas on the car. So you can see here we have some hot spots from the different flashes that we used. And to get rid of those, the spot handling brush actually does a pretty good job if you just kind of paint right around there. We'll just go in and get rid of some of these and just paint. See, you can see what a good job it did even on that line. It's like it knew you were trying to get rid of that highlight. Same thing back here. Same thing there, it kept that nice body line for us. Let's see how this one does. Same thing. So, I mean, this tool has come a long way. It wasn't this good in like previous versions. Like if you remember back in CS6, it wasn't anywhere near as good as this. So we messed up a little bit there. So I just hit Command Z. Let's go in a little bit closer. Let's make this smaller and still. So if you get a point like this that's being stubborn, you can come back with your clone stamp tool and you can just select like right here. And we'll just go in and paint right over that. And that helps us just get rid of that. Same thing here. So with our clone stamp tool, you just click Alt to sample, and then just go over and paint. We got some mess here. I might have been a little sloppy when I washed my car and didn't clean all this good stuff up. But you know what they say, you can fix it in post. Same thing here. Let's get rid of this junk. Maybe get rid of this. Get rid of whatever that is. Let's go back to this tool. We'll see what we can do here. Maybe we'll leave that one. But from before to after, just helps clean up some of that. Last thing I think we'll do is let's just hit one more layer. So Command Option Shift E. And then if you come over here to the burn tool, let's take this. So we have our exposure down at 8%, and we're just affecting the shadows. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in and we're gonna paint on some of these dark areas just to darken them up a little bit. Make the brush a little bit bigger, and we'll just go over some of this. Go right into here, into the headlight. Maybe in there, just on this little ridge. Just on some of the dark areas. And then let's go back. Let's grab the dodge tool. So again, same thing. We're just doing highlights and 8%, and we'll come back to the areas adjacent to where we just were. And this is just gonna affect the highlights, and we're just gonna paint a little bit on those. And then we'll come in here, and then on these gills, on the light, maybe a little bit in here on the heat exchanger, light bulb, maybe a little bit on the pulley, a little bit on the wheels. And so if we zoom out and you click on and off that layer, so you can see what we did is we just helped chisel out some of those body lines. So let's zoom out and let's go ahead and make our final image. So we'll go ahead and flatten that. Let's hit save that version, and then let's go back over to Lightroom and see where we ended up. So here's where we started. Here is our final image, and here's the one that I edited the other day. You can see the crop's a little bit different. I think I went in a little bit closer, but colors and everything are a little bit better. I actually kind of like the light burst on this one that we did, and I actually like the colors a little bit better on this. This one was a little bit yellow still. So hopefully you like this video. Hopefully you learned something from it. Hopefully it inspires you to get out there and try some flash photography on your own. If you have any suggestions for future videos or any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, until next time, take care.